Welcome to the Fire and Earth podcast with your hosts, Jason Mefford and Kathy Groover. Fire and Earth, giving you the keys to unlock your limitless potential.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Fire and Earth podcast. I am your co-host, Kathy Groover.
And I'm Jason Mefford, and today we are joined by my friend Teresa Kwon, and we're so excited! Yay! All right, now, Teresa, we'll kind of let you introduce yourself a little bit, because I know you, but a lot of the viewers may not know you. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that, as we've talked about that we're both really passionate about is people, and actually using people as, even saying words like investment or asset is bad, right? Mm-hmm. But, we're all about trying to help people unlock their potential. And one of the best ways to do that, if you're a business owner or a manager, mm-hmm. is having that team around you and having the culture that you need, right? Yeah. Because when you unlock their potential, your life gets easier. You can transform, you can go to the next level. Mm-hmm. So maybe just kind of introduce yourself to the audience and kind of explain kind of your transition or pivot to where you are now, because I think that's kind of fascinating myself.
Sure, absolutely. Well, my name is Teresa Kwon, and I'm a leadership coach for online entrepreneurs who are scaling to 7 to 10 figures in their businesses. And to give you a little background, I definitely am a corporate escapee, is what I like to call it. 25 years of working in just about every industry, except for maybe manufacturing. But
well, that was me.
Well, there you are.
Yeah.
So nonprofit, I was in nonprofit government. I've been in global government. I've worked in IGOs. I've worked in corporate, the Fortune 500, also Global 2000, and then most recently in tech startups in the Austin space. So native Texan, born and raised here, but also am a global globetrotter. So I base out of Texas, Austin, Texas, and I have been traveling the world for pleasure and for business for probably like 16 years. Mm. So yeah, really excited. Last summer, I just finally came to a YOLO moment, if you want to call it that. You only live once, and chose to move out of, to fold my corporate consulting business, to step out of working in-house. I was working in the tech startup scene here, and to really focus on the things that are a priority in my life. The things that we always say, like, oh, we want to spend more time with our families, and we want to do this and that. And, it just occurred to me, it's like, I'm not getting any younger. And I'm watching my health decline. Like, I was in the hospital and just not doing well. And also had my marriage on the rocks. And it just had this moment of like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this isn't for me. And my values aren't lining up with my work and who I'm working with. And, all of those things, sort of the stars aligned. And I just said, goodbye.
And off you go.
Yeah, goodbye. And I set up shop virtually online. So now I work virtually with clients, and specifically online entrepreneurs who are striving to seek a more balanced life, right? Mm-hmm. Who are interested in impact, and that aligns more with my mission. So I look for purpose-driven, impact-driven entrepreneurs who are in the online space who need the very coaching and skills on how to scale their businesses. And team and people is a real core part of that. So, so excited to be here and being able to offer programs and coaching and consulting services for this space. And it's been amazing. It's been such a great shift away from suits and airplanes and
waking up in the morning and not knowing which city you're in because all the hotels look the same.
Jet lagged all the time,
See, I like that.
But I feel your pain.
I'm weird. I like waking up and not knowing what time zone I'm in and which direction the bathroom was. And I know there was toilet paper. I've done that where I'm in the bathroom going, okay, I know. Wait, no, that was last night. It was on this side.
Okay.
2 nights ago, it was under the sink. Okay, I'll find it.
Under the sink.
Well, it was a bad hotel. It was a low budget thing. Yeah, maybe I was dreaming it. I don't know. Anyway, so you used one of my favorite words, Tracy. You said about values, And one of the things that I've been working on from a personal perspective, and I know this translates very easily into business, is figuring out your values, doing the values cards, doing values exercises, because you can't make things in alignment with your values unless you know what your values are.
That's
so
right.
do you have a technique? Do you have something that you help get people to their values?
Yes, 100%. So it's actually, so I have a series of workshops that I've been doing with lots of my clients that have now incorporated all into a program. And so I do have, doing it virtually is very different than in person, right? Where we can, put out values cards and start to like cluster them together, right? It sounds like you've done that activity before.
They're sitting right there.
Exactly. So, but I do this now virtually, and some of it actually starts with, just it depends on like how many people are involved, right? Like it could be just the business owner, or it could be also their partner or their business partner, or their even, key employees. And so what I like to do is just kind of have a conversation. And in fact, I was actually talking to a brand strategist who uses a very similar technique. But we just start having conversations and asking for stories of like the most impactful things that have happened in their lives, what were pivotal points in their life. And we start recording all of those things. And I start recording also keywords, like trigger words that they start to use. And then from that activity, I put that away. And then I usually give them like I'll give them sheets of words. And so we'll start like saying like, okay, start like circling, like you get to circle 25 words that seem to resonate with you. And then we go through an elimination process. Then I bring back the stories and I remind them and say like, here, like this is a great word. And here are some stories what story seems to connect with that. Right. So it helps them take it from like this conceptual ideal, like honesty, truth, like I believe in like good people and changing
Justice.
the world, right? Like, because, sometimes they're so just some values. I mean, that's my own like
get a little lofty.
Yeah, some people's values I'm just like Xerox copy, like so not unique, and but I understand the process to get there. So what I try to do is have it be in their own words, right? Like don't just like it's lofty ideals, but like let's incorporate it into your story, and let's incorporate too like things that like truly you care about clearly because it's in your life story, right? And then also it's like tying it to that world of like what world are they trying to create, right? So this is where it blends in with your vision, the vision, the oh shit, like I don't can I change the world vision, and like how do we tie that together? And then when it comes to a business owner, I would say another thing I like to incorporate is it's like I always call it the exercises I use. I always say if you're creating a company culture, you're creating a nation island named Jason. And so the people in the nation island of Jason, like how do they talk? What are their traditions? What are their cultures? Like, how do they eat? What is their daily like? And what are, all those things. And, distilling the DNA of this person into what would be codified into core values, right? So the process that I use is, I would say, different than like your traditional sort of just core values, like, oh, we identify with this and we identify with this word. But I like it to be more of a story and have it connect or really harness the DNA of the founders or the core people of the company. So that way you get to attract more people just like that, right? People that are like, oh my gosh, that's so me. I'm already a citizen of this island nation of Jason and Kathy, and I need to be a part, right? So that's how I kind of a generic but wash over of like how I treat core values.
Yeah, cool.
Well, I think it's interesting too, because, you shared your story to begin with, right? And we said, before you can really focus on values or creating a culture, you have to know what they are.
Yeah.
But the problem is so much of the time we just kind of live life, right? And we get in a rut and we do all these things. And, you kind of shared that in your story. And I've had that in my story, and Kathy, and everybody does, where all of a sudden, you stop and it's like, holy shit, right? I just cannot take this anymore. I have to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, because we talked before about catalyst moments.
Yep.
These points where, again, it's like you're sitting on the bed in the hotel room and you're like, I cannot be on the road 40 weeks next year, right? I just cannot do that anymore, right?
Yeah.
And so then you start going into some of that introspection and realize what really is important to me. And then, like you said, translating that into, okay, now you as the leader, you have to get your shit together, right? You've got to change. You've got to do whatever you need to do to start creating that utopian island of Jason, right? And then you've got to start trying to find or attract people, to you to create that culture so that you can, like you said, if you're pivoting your business and trying to go a different route, it might mean you need new people.
Yep.
Right. Or you might need to think about people that work with you differently. Because it always gets me, words like human resources, right? And I hate it because I don't hate the human, I hate the resource, right? Because employees are not resources to be used up and spit out, but companies tend to do that. They're humans, right, that have potential that we can unlock, that they will die for you if they believe in your culture and in what you're trying to do. But I know, sometimes it's hard for people to kind of make that switch, which is where you kind of fit in there, is trying to help these leaders figure out, view their people different, and really be able to take advantage of, the think of it as an investment instead of an expense, or an asset or resource that can be just used up and thrown out, and then you go hire a new employee, right?
Exactly.
But that's kind of what we've been trained in capitalism, and we could go off on a side tangent there, and I can talk about all why it's that way, but we don't have time for that today. But how do you help, or get people to switch or shift that mindset, so that they really can get all that benefit? Because we can't do everything by ourselves. We need the help of other people. Exactly. But until you really make that shift, you're not going to get help from other people like you need it.
Yeah, exactly. I would say that especially in this online space, or even the tech startup world, it's, what's the story? The guy in the hoodie goes to his parents' garage, and like makes this thing from scratch, brings in his buddies, and like, then you like have Apple. So I think, so like, I would say that it's also unique to this online entrepreneur space, largely because so much technology facilitates your ability to do all the things by yourself, right? So solopreneur has become that coined word, and I actually always tell them, I'm like, solopreneur is a misnomer. It's more like you guys have DID, like you are doing like a person's jobs and putting on all the hats, and you're talking together and having a meeting in your head, and you have no idea because you're just doing all the things.
Really? Is that why I talk to myself so much?
I know.
I'm an only child. So I
they feel like y'all are weird.
Yeah, I know. Of course I'm talking to myself. Sometimes you need expert opinion.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things I do like try to point out, I do point out from the beginning, is that that there is a shift that needs to be made with those who are starting their own business. It's a very different creature than working for somebody else and being a leader than it is to work for yourself and be the leader. And so it's hard because when it's out of your pocketbook and your profits, like there's something that happens to the mindset of scarcity. Like, people think, ooh, like if I hire someone, that's X amount of dollars less a month for me coming back to me, or like, ooh, I feel the burden of now I have to like not only, make money enough for me and my family, but now it's for their family, and there's this lack sense that happens. And I get it. I mean, I'm in that space. We're all in that space. Right. I identify that, and I call that the business owner mindset. right? Where you and yourself, it's the universe revolves around you and the success around you and what you have to offer, product, service, whatever that is, and the people that serve you, right? They serve you, versus shifting to what I call the leader's mindset, which is actually not from a place of scarcity and poverty, but from a place of wealth, of like, I have much, like, and I have this incredible ability to be able to create this entity that creates business, like that creates money, right? And I come from a place of overflow, and I am looking to invest, not my dollars for capital, like basically somebody's, becoming a cog in the machine to like make me make more money, but thinking in terms of like, oh, well, who can I invest in? Who do I see potential in that also, like, it's like a partnership, but it's also a mentorship, right? Mm-hmm. So instead of seeing them as an expense, like, ooh, they're taking money from me, it's more like, I'm giving from my overflow and I have much, and I want to invest in this person and watch them blossom and unlock and become an even greater version of themselves. Mm-hmm. And watch that it comes back in spades. Like the byproduct of that is so much more. And it's like 10x what you're going to get dollars for time versus investing in this person with the right values, with the right culture, with the right heart, like, and saying like, I actually care about your success, not just my success and not just my business's success, but each person's success. And when you are able to pour into that person the loyalty, the love, the amount of like effort and motivation, like all the things that all the managerial sciences talk about. It's like, how do you get them to be motivated? And I'm just saying, love on them, man. Like, see them as a person. Like, if you are there and championing their actual individual personal success, you're going to see all those things, and you don't have to have a conversation about being motivated or engaged.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I would say, just to your point about, wealth and this idea of overflow, wealth is not just money.
That's right.
We have wealth from time and relationships. And when I started my massage practice, I was doing all my own laundry. I was doing all my own everything. And someone called one day and said, I know this is last minute, but can you give me a massage? And I realized I was out of sheets. I had a car full of sheets. Mm-hmm. And I said, is my job a laundress? Or is my job a massage therapist to help other people? And that was the day I stopped at my local little dry cleaner place. And I said, what do you charge to do laundry?
Good for
and
you.
That was the day I went, screw this. I'm a massage therapist. I am not. I just turned down money because I had to do laundry.
Right.
What? And
I know.
the time it was taking me, and the folding, and I have an assistant. And every week, the sign on my ceiling changes. The CD changes. She does stuff around my office. And there was one day a client came in. He laid on the table. He flipped over. He looked at the sign on the ceiling, and he goes, that's the same sign that was up there last week. And I said, yeah, well, my assistant's out of town. And he goes, really? You couldn't change your own sign?
Oh.
And I said, I could. But in the time that it takes me to run my errands, change the sign, change the CD, I could be returning phone calls. I could be researching your condition. I could be relaxing. I could be eating. I could be peeing. I could be taking a walk. So I can't change my own sign.
And oh, by the way, if I changed the sign, I wouldn't have time to give you the massage today. Thank you very much. Get out of my office.
It took me an hour to change the sign. But it was just that idea. I mean, I actually thought about it for a second, and I thought about, no, I don't have the time to change my own sign.
I love it.
Yeah.
Because in that 3 minutes it takes me to pick a sign, put it, 3 minutes, but that's 3 minutes for me to nurture myself, as opposed to doing some silly thing around my office. And that was the shift that I had of, I need help, and it's okay to have people do things for you. And that expanded my wealth, not only productivity wise, but also my own personal wealth of well-being and feeling good and health and all that stuff that we kind of forget about when we talk about wealth. So I love that you're encouraging people to do that. I mean, we have to.
Yeah, because wealth is not just money. Like, there's a difference between riches and wealth. And wealth is and you can be rich in all of, energy and time and things like that. But wealth, like, is from a place of, it's just, you just know that it's there. Like, for me, when I think of a wealthy person, they're not stressed out about money, or, if they have enough money to buy their whatever, or, you know what I mean? There's this place of like, feeling solid, feeling secure, knowing where you are, knowing that like it's just as an overflow, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love that you made that shift, and it's so interesting because most people would batter themselves. I find a lot of my clients who say like, oh, it's just going to take me so much longer to explain, and I'm just going to do it myself, right? And I'm like, let's talk about what your hourly rate is. You know, like how much do you charge? What do you think your time is worth?
Mm-hmm.
And okay, and they're like, oh, but it's going to take 10 minutes. Like I was just counseling somebody yesterday about, you know, whether she wants to just bring in somebody to do this quick thing. And I was like, let's talk about this. Like, this is not an activity that, like, if you are a business owner, if you are a leader of a business, if you run your own business, you're effectively the CEO of your business. Does the CEO, it's not to say that they couldn't do it and that they're not humble, but like, is that the ROI that you can best reap from your time, right? Like, and it's not to say that some tasks are lesser than. There are some people who are more specialized than you. I'm all into like hire people who are smarter and better and going to be better than you can ever do it. But there's also just the sheer fact of like what are you doing to like grasp onto everything and like come from a place of lack, come from a place of self-sufficiency. And that's not a very unlocked or open place to be in, like even your posture when you try to do all the things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's a great example too, because I love that concept that you said about the business owner versus the leader mindset. So here's kind of an example of that, right? Of and actually seeing people as humans, you know, because we've had in the news, you hear stuff about minimum wage and, you know, a lot of stuff about this. So let me try to kind of, you know, put this in an example, right?
Yeah.
And so let's say again, you know, you're the CEO of whatever the company is, you earn, we'll just say $100 an hour to make it easy, right? And so, yeah, does it make sense for you to spend $100 of your time to go wash the sheets, as an example? Or is it better to pay someone $10 an hour to wash the sheets, and then you're a net $90 ahead, right?
Exactly.
And the general, you know, capitalistic kind of view would be, well, how little can I pay to get somebody to wash my sheets, right? And so they might look at that and say, well, I'm just going to do a minimum wage job, right? So whatever it happens to be, I'm picking $10 just for the hell of it, right? But the leader mindset, again, I think would be different, of saying, instead of trying to find a minimum wage worker that you only pay $10 an hour and that you treat like some piece of shit sometimes, right? Because you're just the person who washes the sheets. Why don't you pay that person 20 or 25 bucks an hour? Give them, you know, more accountability, give them more ownership in what they're doing. You're still 75 bucks ahead.
Yep.
But when you shift that kind of from the leader perspective and instead see that person as, hey, this is another human being who has a family, that most of the blood-sucking companies out there would only pay $10 an hour, but I see potential in that person. I like that person. I want to be friends with that person, and I want to help take care of and help provide for their family as well. Now you start to see them in a totally different light.
Oh yeah.
And you don't see the $25 of, oh, I could have only spent 10.
Right.
Right. It's like, screw that. Right. Why don't you actually let this person have a real working wage where they can live their life, can provide for their family? Because that little shift and that extra, in this instance, $15 an hour, that's going to create an employee that loves you, who's willing to die for you. And guess what? You're not going to have to try to motivate them, right?
Nope,
you pay them
not at
$10
all.
an hour, you're going to spend a whole bunch of time with this, with a carrot and a stick, trying to beat them, you know, or do whatever to motivate them. You actually pay them and appreciate them and treat them as a human. You're going to get way more than 25 bucks an hour out of that person. And you're still ahead by 75.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And I love that. I love that you say that. It's like, you're still ahead by 75. Like, why are you feeling the lack? And I wonder, and, you know, I've been thinking about this from like trying to think of other metaphors, right? To help people grasp and understand, like, what does it mean to operate from a wealth mentality? And instead of like, the what can you do for me for as little as possible, or who's, race to the bottom for like the same amount of effort, right? I think it's interesting that people think like, oh, well, this person is willing to work minimum wage for me, and they expect the same amount of care and effort as someone if they were to double that, right? To pay $25 an hour. They expect the same level of commitment and the quality of work and et cetera. And I'm like, you get what you pay for, you guys. Like, this isn't like closeout sales of like trying to find the lowest bidder for your, for your work. If you care about your business and you want people to care about your business the way you do, which is 100% of the time, 10 out of 10, every single one of my clients, that's what they complain about. How do I get my employees or my staff to like care about my business the way I do? And I was like, well, first of all, let's talk about how you treat them. Like, like, are you, and it's not just about money, but like, are you constantly just hounding them? Like, are you even asking them? Are you seeing them as a human being? Like, oh, I'm friends. I'm the nicest boss in the world. And I was like, well, let's first of all throw away the boss word. Like, like who thinks that their bosses, I mean, there's nice bosses and not so nice bosses, but like that already tells you have a hierarchy with this person. Yeah. Not to say that there isn't, but like you're doing a pecking order, and like you're already, all the little micro nuances, microaggressions that people don't realize that are coming into the relationship with their team member. It's like, yeah, no, they're not going to serve you the way you think, or serve the business the way you think, because it's actually, I think that's the thing. It's like a lot of like people who do their own business is a personal brand. It's like attached to who they are, their reputation, their identity, like how they do things. So easily you're like, oh, I need someone to work for me. And I'm saying, no, what you need is someone to work for the business, and you serve the business too, right? Yeah.
There was a funny thing that was on Facebook yesterday. It was a photo of a guy in a suit next to a Lamborghini, and it said, if you work really hard and you dedicate yourself to your job, in 5 years, I'll be able to buy another one of these cabs. And I was like, that's freaking brilliant, because that's true. I have so many people, clients, friends, family who work for that other guy. Yep. And they're like, why am I busting my ass so you can have another jet?
Yep.
It's like, there's that mentality. So we have like 3 minutes left. So yeah, I know we do this. Yeah.
It goes quick.
It goes quick. Anything you want to add, Jason, or Teresa, anything you want to wrap up with? We'll throw your website out and all that good stuff.
Well,
sure.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, again, kind of what we've been talking about for people, if you really want to get, potential out of people and really build a team and the culture, you've got to get away from the draconian type of hierarchy that most people have been used to, and start thinking of it as a team that's working for a bigger goal, because that's where culture comes in. If you can bring in people that believe in the culture, that believe in you, that you treat like human beings, and they will die for you. I mean, these people will be there, they'll be around, and not try to do the race to the bottom, but treat people as humans the way they should be, is, it's a big passion for me, because again, it's we need that leader's mindset where we're thinking about these people that we're working with as human beings. And one of my nephews actually worked for a very wealthy man. I guess I did too, but this different guy. And this guy told him once, and he still had his business and he was still running his business, but he told my nephew, he said, after the first 200 million, you don't really notice a change in your lifestyle. Right. And it's like, okay, I can get that. Right.
I'd like to try that.
Okay. You'd like to try that?
Yeah. I would just like to see. Prove it.
Yeah. So that kind of begs the question, right? Why does this guy still have a business? And it's to be able to provide jobs and help the people that he works with, right? This guy's already filthy stinking rich, but he gets it, right? He understands that by doing this, it's not to make him any more wealthy, because he's not going to notice a difference, but helping somebody that, would be that $10 an hour employee and paying them 20, doubling effectively what they could earn, the benefit that has to that person, to society.
Exactly.
That's what the leader's mindset is about for me. And that's why I was excited to have you come on. So anyway, I'm just kind of rambling, but yeah, we'll let you kind of close out. Give us.
Sure. Well, I mean, I just like, definitely, you totally understand where I'm going. It's like the leader is thinking about a legacy. The leader, like a business owner, is thinking about providing for themselves, right? And so when you adopt a leader's mentality, a leader's mindset, and you know that you are building a legacy that has an overflow and an impact on society, like it's so much more than just yourself. It's really about everybody else. And I always say, like, sounds like a meme, but purpose over paycheck. Like, people are dying to find something that aligns with what they want to accomplish in life, or feel proud that their 8 hours a day are going towards something greater than just making somebody get another Lamborghini, right? And I'll leave this with this thought, and I don't know if any of y'all are Downton Abbey fabbies. I'm Downton Abbey fan right here. But I love watching like period pieces, largely because while there were things that were not good about the feudal system, one of the things that I loved was, it's interesting to watch the lords who have all this land care so much about the people that they are bringing to work the land, right? And how, like, they have figured out that it's also about their well-being, right? And the whole village that's around them. But that if they don't have people to help work that land, that land also depreciates, right? So knowing that, like, a business that you're creating, which nowadays is way easier, I think, than it was even 10 years ago with the internet, is that when you're creating a business, it's a lot like that. It's like you have now, like, created real estate to cultivate, and there's no way that you can cultivate all of that yourself. And if you think of an overflow of, like, let's invite people to do this, not just for my well-being, but also for theirs, right? And for the prosperity of all, that's thinking more along the lines of overflow, wealth, and building a legacy, rather than just trying to build my own little empire. And not seeing people as an expendable resource, or and just an asset, but really it's a symbiotic win-win investment, right? And not only your gain, but also their gain. And so that's my encouragement for everyone that's your listeners here. And I love this conversation. Thanks for having me here.
Oh, absolutely. And how can people reach you?
Sure. I am at daringly.great.com, and I love to connect with different people who are thinking about this space, thinking about growing their legacy. And you've realized, like, you need to build the right kind of team around you. And so I'd love to help you in any way I can.
Awesome. You've been great. Thanks so much for being here. I'm Kathy Groover. I can be reached at kathygruver.com.
And I'm Jason Mefford. I can be reached at jasonmefford.com. So go out there, unlock your potential, and get a great team of people around you, and actually treat them as human beings. And you're just going to be amazed at what happens in your life. So thanks, and we'll see you on another episode of the Fire and Earth podcast.
See ya.
See ya.